Hey, Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, Wednesday, February 18, 2026. Stand up for your country. Most Americans don't care very much about the media. I know that. It's part of our lives, but it's distant from personal behavior, your personal circumstance. Polls say the American people believe the press is largely corrupt, which it is. And they can't do much about it because we have the First Amendment and all of that. And giant corporate media controls pretty much what you see on television and the major urban newspapers. That's changing because of social media, but it's still there. Now, television news in particular still has some power. It can ruin people. And it's not hard to do that. So linking anybody with Jeffrey Epstein, my God, no matter what the circumstance, is your name with his name, brutal. And if a news agency goes after you and wants to destroy you, it can do it. And it can also, the American media, protect people. That's the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. So the Rhode Island shooting was horrendous. Here's a high school hockey game, all right? And a guy shows up, Robert Dorgan, 56 years old. He kills his ex-wife, Rhonda, and his adult son, Aiden. He critically wounds Rhonda Dorgan's parents and a family friend, and then he commits suicide at the arena. I mean, it doesn't get worse than that, right? So it got a lot of coverage, but part of the story was ignored, that Robert Dorgan was a trans person who wanted to be called Roberta Dorgan. Okay. Here are the agencies that did not mention that while covering this story in Rhode Island: the Associated Press, CNN, ABC News, NBC News, MS, the New York Times. Somehow did not mention that the murderer was a trans person. No excuse for that. Part of the story. I don't know the circumstance of this man, woman, whatever. I don't know. But when you are a trans person, that needs to be reported. Okay? But these agencies don't. That is deceitful. Now, their excuse is, well, we don't want to demonize trans people. Okay, but that's not your job. If you want to get into sociology, get out of journalism and go into sociology. Your job is to report the facts. Canada, not as bad, but the Associated Press is the absolute worst now. So remember, on February 10th, guy kills 8 people, 18-year-old. He's transing to a woman. But I guess he's a guy, but I don't know. Jesse Van Rooselaar kills 8 people and he wounds 17 others in one of the worst mass shootings in Canadian history. Okay. The Associated Press doesn't mention that he was in transition. The Associated Press goes out all over the world. And I'm sitting here going, I would have fired every single editor at the AP. Again, same reason, because the Associated Press didn't identify the trans person in Rhode Island. Oh, no. We're not going to do that because it's going to demonize. Now, I'm not the type of guy that says, well, trans people are mass murderers. I'd never do that. You go where the evidence takes you. I'll tell you it's not a difficult situation. It is a difficult situation, I should say. It's a tough road. And that can cause a lot of mental problems. That story should be told. Not told. Okay? So it's disturbing, but it's not unique. The press has been covering for a lot of people. And let me give you a few examples. The biggest example is President Biden. Everybody knew that Biden was not mentally up to running this country. But the only reason that he did not run for re-election is because of the debate. So Americans saw for themselves. Press corps knew, because Biden avoided it. Okay, they knew that he was doddering. They knew he wasn't doing a job every day. He was knocking off at 3, starting at noon. They know all that. The White House corps knew it, covered it up. No doubt. Absolutely. I knew. All of my journalistic friends knew. Wasn't reported. Then you had the George Floyd looters. Remember that? Unbelievable destruction across the country. Did you do any follow-up on that? How many were arrested? How many went to jail? How many were involved in violent activities? Who they were? Who financed it? Did you get any of that? No. Total blackout. Compare that to January 6th. When the rioters there, they were identifying almost every one of them by name and face. So the looters for George Floyd, they get off, no exposure, but the January 6th rioters, many of them went to jail. They were pardoned by President Trump. And the final one is Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis. There's no question I made this, and nobody can refute it, that the 2 Americans who were killed, Renee Good and Alex Frey, would be alive today if Mayor Frey had upheld his oath of office and protected the public. Okay? You don't have to subscribe to ICE. You don't have to help ICE. All you had to do was put Minneapolis cops between ICE and the protesters so nobody would get hurt. So any kind of a violent situation could be diffused by the local police before it got into the ICE precinct. That's not hard to do. Yet Frey and many of the press reports treated as sympathetic. We absolutely, those 2 dead people are on him. And you can't refute it. Absolutely, all he had to do, send the cops out there and make sure that public safety was upheld. That's all he had to do. Wouldn't do it for political reasons. So the press at this point not coming back. There's not going to be a renaissance. It's not going to be a rise of noble behavior. And many of us have left the corporate media and gone on our own. And obviously you're looking at the poster boy for that. And I have to tell you, there's so much relief involved. So I don't have to do this. I can report to you the news honestly. And that's the memo.